locate the properties that you want to use for a CMA that you will enter into RPR. So before you get into RPR, which is just another tile within your Unlock MLS, the first thing you want to do is locate those properties within the matrix. You are going to do a regular home search using the map search section of the search. I like to go out about 3 miles to start, and then I'll narrow this down as I need to of the subject property that I want to use. We do want to make sure that the homes that we're looking for are closed, because that's the only thing that an appraiser is going to look at. I am going to go ahead and back up to about 180 days to start, and if we need to narrow that down further, we can go down to 90 later on. The home is a single family, so we want our comps to be single family. If I go into realtor.com, I can see that this house is 3-bed, 2-bath, 1457 square feet. So that gives me an idea of what it is that I need to look for here. I'm going to do a 3 to 4 bedroom, 2 full baths, 2 to 3 car garage. It's 1457 square foot, so I'm going to do 1250 through 1650. I like to give about 200 to 300 on either side. Year built, it was built in 2013, so I'm going to do 2010 to like 2016. And it's a 1-story, so I only want to compare 1-story homes. This gave me 5 matches, but let's make sure our map is where we want it to be. I see that it grabbed that neighborhood, that tiny little neighborhood here, and all the little surrounding neighborhoods. This is fine. If you want to edit the polygon of where it is grabbing, you can actually draw it yourself. Because hopefully you know that area a little bit better than what it is suggesting. So I'm going to delete the original shape by clicking where that middle point was, where the house is, leaving the one that I created. And I did this shape here by clicking on the polygon option and drawing it on myself. Once I've drawn that on, I can go to results. I see that that didn't really change the search too much or the results too much, so I'm going to go ahead and go to results. Once you have your list of things, you can see that there are the same 3 bedrooms, all have 2 bathrooms, all have 2 car garages. Year built was relatively about the same. Acreage is about the same. Square footage is a little bit different, but we can add or subtract the value when we go into RPR. And that's really all you need to determine, except for photos. You can also go through the photos to determine if these listings are similar in condition, floor plan. There's a lot of different features, countertop materials, flooring materials, a lot of things you can look at to see if it's similar enough to use in your comps, okay? Once you've determined that you do like all of those listings, you can either take note of the addresses or the listing IDs, but I'm going to jump over to RPR. Scroll down, find the RPR app. And when you get into RPR, the first thing you do, again, is enter in the subject property. Scroll all the way down to the yellow CMA value, create CMA. And then you always want to make sure you've selected a more detailed evaluation. This is what the appraisers are going to do here. Once you've done that, you just follow the prompts here to confirm that the home facts that this system knows to be true about the home match what you know to be true about the home. So let's go through and make sure that all that information is correct. So public record data, this is all the information that they believe is true. Notice here that it did not say 3 bedrooms, so we went ahead and entered that here, and everything else looked to be as it should. Okay. Confirm the facts and close. Search for comps. We're going to go through and enter in add known property to add in the address or the MLS for the homes that we want to use. And I can just copy paste those homes here. When you do copy and paste them in, and hit add, they will populate over here to the right hand side. As you can see, I've already done this for you. I've entered in the 5 properties that we are going to use. Go ahead and update valuation and close. Okay. You make your adjustments for all those properties because there were some differences. So you just go through and make sure that everything in the column here is going to be your current subject property details, and then you have the next 5 properties that were your subject properties, okay? As you can see here, I did some adjustments for square footage. Using the sheet that you have in regards to valuation, if the home is lesser in any of these features here, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, whatever, you want to add value to that in order to come up to par to your subject properties details. So for example, this home is 1402 square foot as opposed to the 1547 square foot of our subject property, and the math here is this. You're going to take 1457 square foot minus the 1402 square foot, which is of our comparable property. You've got 55 square feet difference times the price per square foot of the sold homes. Okay, that's $12,760. And as your formula reads, you multiply that by 0.35. And that's where you get the 4466. So $4,466 needs to be added, again, because this is the property with the lesser of the features. And we need to bring it up to par to meet our subject property. For example, this one over here to the left, the one on Strokes Lane, 1473. Obviously has more square footage, so we're going to do 1473 minus 1473 minus 1457. That's the difference of 16 square feet times the price per square feet sold is $219. That's $3,000, $3,500 times that 0.35, and you're going to want to subtract value because this one is greater. So minus 1226 because we need to bring it down to par with our subject property. And you're going to do that for each one of your comparables that you have. Be sure to hit next here at the top in case you have any 4th and 5th options as well. Normally you only need about 3, but because there were 5 that were relevant, I went ahead and used all 5. And again, you can see I added or subtracted value. This one was 1608 square feet, so we needed to bring it down to value to meet our subject property. Same thing with our other one. So those 2 that were on Keeley and the other one on Mangan, 18733, we had to bring those down as well. Okay. There was one, here I'll back up a little bit, sorry. There was one, if you scroll down, I noticed that this particular one here on Strokes Lane did not have a patio, a covered patio. So I went ahead and added about $3,000. It's not priced to build a patio. It's just like a percentage, like a little bit of value that an appraiser would give for a patio. So I went ahead and added that because our subject property does have one. And again, we need to bring that up to par with ours. Once you've done that, update valuation and close. And you will be able to review the sales comparison analysis. The original result of this property was $326,000. Don't worry too much about this. When you go over to valuation workbook, create, you always want to do the one that's 74 pages, the valuation workbook. You can view a sample if you'd like, so you can see exactly what each page may look like. and determine if that's information you want to be relevant. This is just an example using an address out there in Oregon, so obviously this is not your workbook, but you can customize your workbook to remove pages that you don't think are necessary. Here's what I've done for mine. Feel free to pause this video to make sure your screen looks like mine when you're creating yours. Once you have deselected all the ones that you don't need, you can hit Run Report. And it'll give you this notice. This box will close automatically. And then you'll get a notification. If you have the volume on your computer, a ding-dong sound will let you know when the report is done. You can go into your valuation workbooks. Oops, let me go ahead and go home. There you go. Download the report that it has generated for you, and you can see a valuation workbook has been completed for you and your client. 51 pages is still a lot, but some people want all that information, some do not. I wouldn't worry too much about the current estimated value. That is not based on the work that you just did, but as you can see, it is not much different than the work that you did do. I would say a safe selling price would be $326. But it wouldn't hurt if you started listing your property in between $310 and $338. Here's why. $310, take a look at those photos and determine where that house sits between those photos. Interior, exterior, condition, and so forth. If you think it's better than anything that has sold that we did the comparisons on, maybe you list it up at the top. Maybe you list it at $338 or $340. If you think it's the worst of all the comparison ones that you've done, maybe you list it closer to $310. I like to bring the seller in on this and say, where do you think your house falls between the properties that we compared it to? And wherever they determine it falls is how you determine where within this range you price their property. But I would say at the end of the day, it's probably going to end up selling for this if you're listing high.